Well, we'll set out our plans for welfare reform, but it is absolutely clear that the current system is not working for anyone. It is not working for people who need support. It's not working to get people into work so that more people can fulfil their potential.
The Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, has declared that Britain's benefits system isn't working for anyone.
Well, that's amid growing tensions within government over reported plans to slash welfare spending in the spring statement.
And it's not working for the taxpayer when the bill for welfare is going up by billions of pounds in the next few years. So we do need to get a grip. We need to spend more on national defence. We need to reform our public services, and we need to reform our broken welfare system.
Diane Abbott and Clive Lewis standing shoulder to shoulder against their own party leader. This isn't just another day in Westminster. It's the beginning of Labour's civil war. Starmer promised unity but delivered division. As his £6 billion welfare cuts proposal tears through party ranks, we're witnessing what could be the most significant Labour rebellion in decades. The question is no longer if the party will fracture, but how badly and how soon. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favour. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now, back to the video.
What's a woman of that age doing going to a pop concert?
That's the big question.
Frankly, I mean, she might be younger than me, but I mean, even so.
I know.
Very odd. Anyway, someone who would never go to a pop concert is Kevin Schofield. The problem she's got is that half the cabinet are apparently opposed to those plans. So, is it going to be the right thing to do to squeeze the welfare state?
Especially when it's being reported that, oh dear, she received free tickets to a Sabrina Carpenter concert.
Pleasure of Voice UK's out. You won't, Kevin. I mean, this is a tough one, isn't it? I mean, for the Labour Party, because, I mean, it sounds like... the Conservatives didn't have the kahunas to do this.
Is this the beginning of the end for Starmer's leadership? The Labour Party is fracturing before our eyes over a massive £6 billion welfare cut proposal, and the cracks are getting wider by the day. What was once the party of the working class and vulnerable has transformed into something many of its own members no longer recognise. Work and Pensions Secretary Liz Kendall stands at the centre of this growing storm. She's preparing to announce sweeping cuts to Britain's benefit system that could slash up to £6 billion from welfare payments. But this isn't just another policy announcement. It's sparked an unprecedented internal rebellion that threatens to tear Labour apart from within. The tension reached boiling point during last Tuesday's cabinet meeting.
But he says we probably wouldn't have got away with it because we'd have got so much flack, heartless Tories, this is what you're all about, and the Labour Party would have absolutely nailed us for it, he said. So I wish we'd done it. No, it was funny you should say that. I was speaking to one Conservative MP last week who, that was the point he made, he says this is the type of thing that we should have done.
Where nearly every minister reportedly spoke out against these proposed cuts. The scene inside those closed doors must have been extraordinary. Starmer facing a wall of opposition from the very people he appointed to his top team. Such unanimous cabinet pushback is almost unheard of in modern British politics. At the heart of this growing civil war is the Personal Independence Payment, or PIP, financial support meant for Britain's most vulnerable citizens. The government's proposed changes wouldn't just trim around the edges, they could potentially devastate the financial lifelines of approximately 1 million disabled people across the UK. For many recipients, these payments represent the difference between independence and institutionalisation, between dignity and destitution. When confronted about these cuts, Chancellor Rachel Reeves offered a cold numerical defence. She pointed to the fact that 1,000 new individuals are signing up for PIP every single day, a trend she bluntly described as unsustainable. Her words reveal the economic calculation behind these decisions, but they fail spectacularly to address the human cost. Each of those 1,000 daily applicants represents a person with genuine needs, not just an inconvenient budget line item. The Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster, Pat McFadden, has doubled down on this economic rationale. He insists the party cannot sit back and relax, while millions of people go onto these benefits with little or no hope of work in the future. This framing subtly shifts the narrative from supporting vulnerable citizens to somehow preventing benefit dependency. a rhetorical technique straight from the Conservative playbook that has left many Labour supporters disgusted. What makes this situation particularly explosive is that PIP is just the tip of the iceberg. These proposed cuts form part of a much broader strategy to reduce overall welfare spending, which currently sits at a staggering £285 billion and is projected to balloon to £360 billion by 2028 to 2029. The sheer scale of these numbers explains the Treasury's panic, but does nothing to justify targeting society's most vulnerable first. The rebellion against Starmer's direction is rapidly gaining momentum. Labour MPs Diane Abbott and Clive Lewis are leading a vocal charge against what they perceive as a fundamental betrayal of Labour's traditional values. Their public statements have emboldened others within the party to speak out, creating a snowball effect that threatens to bury Starmer's authority. The Conservatives, despite their own recent electoral defeat, have wasted no time capitalising on Labour's internal chaos. Andrew Bowie, the Conservative Shadow Energy Secretary, delivered a scathing assessment stating that the infighting is plain for everybody in this country to see. His accusation that Labour lacks a coherent plan resonates precisely because there appears to be no unified vision within the party about how to balance fiscal responsibility with social justice. What started as murmurs of discontent has exploded into open rebellion, with nearly the entire cabinet opposing Starmer's welfare strategy. This represents the most significant internal Labour crisis in years, potentially even more destabilising than the factional battles of the Corbyn era, because this time the opposition comes from across the party's ideological spectrum. The implications extend far beyond Westminster politics. For the millions of vulnerable people who depend on these benefits, this is not an abstract policy debate, but a direct threat to their well-being. The betrayal stings all the more because many voted Labour specifically to escape the austerity policies of the previous Conservative governments. History repeats itself before our very eyes. This isn't the first time Labour has faced such division. During Tony Blair's tenure, his centrist pivot triggered significant backlash from the left wing, ultimately weakening party cohesion and electoral performance. What makes today's rebellion particularly damning is Starmer's blatant contradiction of his own pledges. Before proposing these cuts, he explicitly promised to protect welfare systems and vulnerable populations. Promises that now ring hollow. The battle lines drawn today echo Labour's historical tensions between pragmatism and principle. As potential alternative leaders like Abbott and Lewis continue rallying support from the party's left wing, Starmer faces a critical choice: compromise with his own MPs or risk fracturing the party beyond repair. British voters are witnessing this spectacular unravelling in real time, forcing them to question whether Starmer's Labour actually represents its traditional working-class base. The coming weeks won't just determine Starmer's political future, they may permanently reshape Britain's political landscape.